The stage is set. They've come from all around iRacing to find out who's the king of the mountain. It's time to meet your 2023 IROC drivers. In the champion's purple number 1, former Elite Delara IR18 champion of 2021 Season B, the former Velocity Online Racing IndyCar champion of 2021, and the reigning and defending IROC champion. It's Big Car D Santa, Alex Vandesant. Another multi-champion in the Felva Orange 14, the former Coast to Coast Cup champion of Season 2 and Season 3 in 2021, the current Sidewinder 1987 Cup champion of 2022, and the current 100% Division 2 champion, Lucas Hoytsma. In the Dustin's Red number 2, the man that won it all in the inaugural 100% IROC Series, the 100% Cup Iron Man himself, Kevin Consistency Steele. In the Natty Light Blue 13, making his third run at the IROC crown, the inaugural 100% Cup Series champion of 2020, Cam Stone. And in the Jimmy Strong Gold number 3, a jack of all trades, the Bootleg Racing League Classic Cup Late Model, Tour Modified, and Super Late Model champion of 2022, J.R. Shepard. And in the None More Black number 10, the homegrown young gun, the current 100% Cup champion of 2022, John Delaney. Another first-time invitee making his debut in IROC in the Taylor Swift Red number 7, the former SCRL Cup champion of 2021, the Devil on Dirt, the Moist King of the Mud, Blake Giglio. Sporting the Baja Blast Green number 9, representing Lionheart, the Speedway Series champion of 2022, Matt Taylor. And in the Sunoco Yellow number 6, making his second campaign in the IROC Series, the former Sunday Night NASCAR Cup Series champion of 2021, Short Track Joe Stafford. In the Hefty Orange number 8, the 2018 Indy Elite Series champion, the PRL Indy Pro 2000 Season 4 2020 champion, and the current Classic IndyCar Series champion, Josh Shedd. And making his third series attempt to claim best of the best in the Plum Crazy 16, the 100% Cup Darlington 500 winner in 2022, the all-time leading winner in the 100% Cup Series with 31 wins, Bryson Hixenbach. In the Birdman Blue number 5, also representing Lionheart, the Retro Series champion of 2022, Mike Rasmus. Making his debut in the Pebble Silver 15, the current Sunday Night NASCAR Cup champion, RJ Root. Making his second go in the IROC Series in the British Racing Green 11. The self-proclaimed best there is. He wakes up in the morning and pisses at you. The former 100% Cup champion of 2021, the balding bullet himself, Adam Benefield. Returning to IROC 3 in the Victoria's Secret 12, the former Virtual Cup Series champion of 2021, and the current SSRL Elite Cup champion of 2022, Tim Latham. Ladies and gentlemen, your Invitational Race of Champions Series 3 grid.
your TVs and computers. Cody, IROC is obviously something we look forward to every year. It's something a little bit different for most of these guys. Just a quick explanation as to how it works for some of the viewers at home. Basically, the admins at the 100% Cup Series, every year, they kind of scour the forums and they find people who are either champions in their own leagues, in their own divisions, or just champions on iRacing in general who have done something notable. And they send an invite out to those drivers and those who accept the invitation or the challenge, so I should say, well, they get to race against the other greatest racers on the service. And that brings us to where we are today here at Kansas, but not on the oval, Cody. We're here at the road course, which is really a unique layout. If you look at this, it's almost like, as Cam was saying pre-race, they started building the Daytona road course and realized they didn't have the room.
Yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. And you know my history with the Daytona road course. Probably would prefer not to talk about that. But the Kansas Oval, Andre, that's something to look forward to. But as you were mentioning, with all these great drivers in the field today, I mean, we have past champions and 2 past champions of the 100% Cup Series. We have the Division 2 champion of the 100% Series. And then all these other guys who excel on road courses, Andre. It's sure to be a great season.
Absolutely. And of course, a new car this year. We've run different vehicles every single year that we've run IROC. And I believe this year we are running a Chevy sports car from the GT side of iRacing. And I know the admins did pretty extensive testing with this vehicle, kind of running it at various tracks, ovals, road courses, just making sure that it would race well wherever they took it. And in the first race last week, which didn't get broadcasted, I heard we had quite a spectacular finish that ultimately wound up with Joshua Chin leaving the track with the trophy. But it was multi-wide at the line. And I think if you're going to try to pick a car to replicate the IROC series from real life, they did a good job, because that's exactly what the IROC car was. It was not a very, I would say, it was not a very challenging car to drive. It was kind of down on horsepower. It was very drafting oriented. And it was mostly about just positioning and running a smart race. And it seems like with this car, that's what you got to do, because at the end of that race at Indianapolis last week, they were still just bumper to bumper. I mean, just door to door at the line.
Yeah, 5 wide at a start-finish line. I mean, you don't see that very often. And when you have something like that, then it's great. I mean, Andre, over the past 3 seasons, you probably remember the first race of IROC where it was 0.000 of a finish. So it seems like they're just going to keep those good races coming here again, as it looks like we're about ready to go green here at Kansas.
Yeah, the flag man is going to wave that checkered flag over the tri-oval, and these drivers are going to be ready to grid up after a fair bit of practice. I saw a lot of drivers out there turning as many laps as they possibly could. Not a very common car or track combo, I must say. So a lot of these guys probably fairly new to this, just trying to get a feel for the track and what they can do. Now, the grid for these races is not set by qualifying. It is set by pill draw. So here is the pill draw as follows. Raymond Root on the pole next to Jonathan Delaney in that number 10. Still not going to get used to saying that. Timothy Latham is going to be on the inside of row 2 alongside Blake Giglio. Looks like 5 and 6 are going to go to Kevin Steele and Joe Stafford. Lucas Oitzma, Cameron Stone behind them. And running out your top 10 is going to be J.R. Shepard and Bryson Nixon-Bob.
Starting 11th will be defending IROC champion Alex Van Desant, with Matt Taylor alongside him, starting 12th. And then 13th will be Mike Rasmus, who, might I say, his Birdman blue color, Andre, is beautiful. With starting 14th, last week's winner, Joshua Chin, and that will round out our field here today.
And of course, a shout out to Race Control. Carlos loves it when Race Control shows up on the timing and scoring, doesn't he? So, big shout out to the unseen, unheard heroes of the Race Control up in the box watching the race, making sure nothing too crazy goes down. These IROC races have been pretty good in the past, but we've also had our fair share of conflicts, I would say, between drivers. And when you pick a car that puts the drivers so close, of course, you're going to have some contact, you're going to have some disagreements. And that is what the race control is here to avoid as they come out of the hairpin here, the road course section of the track. And again, this road course is just so interesting. It's like a oval with a hairpin. That's what you've done. You've taken an oval, and then you've added a hairpin. Well, a couple of them, I should say. So it's a lot of heavy braking, and I know that listening to Cam, who is currently going to be rolling off in about 7th or 8th, timing and scoring just kind of changed there, but Cam Stone, he said during practice, I can't tell if I'm locking up the front or the rear tires. So the braking a little bit finicky maybe with these cars, and that's going to be something they have to get under control because you're going to be doing a lot of it. If you look at the track map over there, it's going to be hard braking into turn 1. Got a bit of a kink going into the next left-hander. That's not too sharp of a turn. Then you got another hard hairpin into a right-hand sweeper into another hairpin. It's going to take you out onto the oval section. So tons and tons of braking in this car, and then a very high-speed section as well. Kind of makes me wonder where the admins went in terms of setup. How did they handle that? Because when you're setting a car up for a track like this, do you set it up for the oval portion? Do you set it up for the road course portion? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But lights are off on the pace car, so we should be going green this time, which means it'll be making its cartoonishly abrupt left-hand turn as it tends to do on iRacing, down onto the apron, into pit road, and then it'll be RJ Root leading the field to lap number 1 of race 2, and there it goes, making that hard left turn. Let's see what Root's got in the bag for these guys. He's gonna maybe play some mind games, or is he gonna play it straight? Looks like he's gonna play it pretty standard, although we do have one car in the back kind of already making it through 3 wide. Green flag is out side by side all the way back. Purple car that dipped down, I believe, may have been Van de Sant. I'm not sure if he was trying to intentionally drop a little bit further back. He did drop a couple positions. And now heading into the kink and towards the hairpin. RJ Root with a pretty definitive lead. A side-by-side battle here. Kevin Steele involved. Look at this. Heading into the hairpin. You don't really want to be side-by-side here. You want to get this sorted out. This is a very one-line corner. But look at that. Bottom line is going to prevail. If you're trapped up high, that's not a good thing, Cody.
No, being up high going around down a road course is definitely not something that you look forward to at all. Because you want to make sure that you can hit that apex correctly and run out of the corner the correct way. As you see, it looks like Kevin Steele is making a move on, is that Blake Giglio? Or Joseph Stafford? Joseph Stafford making a pass there as they go down the backstretch for the oval portion, where drafting is going to be a big thing here today, Andre, as they're looking for ways to keep it going.
Now you got Cameron Stone giving a nice shot to Kevin Steele, trying to get him a little bit further up. Those two reuniting in a very strange way for the 100% Cup Series this year. Teams have changed around, and Kevin Steele is technically Cam's boss again. Not the first time that's happened in a 100% Cup Series, but I'm sure you may see a little bit of that alliance kind of show through in moments like that, where Cam Stone is going to give him a little bit of help in the draft. Now we do have a replay. Looks like something with Lucas Hoytsma coming through the tri-oval into turn 1. So he may have brushed the wall and then just bounced back into it and missed the entry, had to take a tow. With how short these races are, that's more than likely Lucas's night over. But yeah, he brushes it once right there, Cody, and I got to wonder if maybe he didn't break something on that first impact that sent him careening back into the wall, because, I mean, it was weird. It looked like he just turned right back into it.
Yeah, absolutely, Andre. And the way it just ran at the time when he started hitting it, it looked like he may be trying to do a little Ross Chastain there, Andre, and just trying to hopefully pull himself back off the wall. But as you can see now, unfortunately, with Lucas, that now you got Jonathan Delaney and RJ Root battling for the lead here up at the front, with Jonathan Delaney leading lap 3.
Yeah, Root was able to get away on that first lap through the infield. Now he's going to try to fight back on the high side of this corner, but it's not going to work. That low line is going to be too powerful, so Delaney now comfortably into the lead. Not much of a surprise with how much improved Delaney has been in the sim just over the last year and a half. Definitely a force to be reckoned with. Although I am a little surprised how quickly he was able to make that overtake. Root is usually pretty good at playing some defense and keeping those cars in his rearview mirror when he needs to. So very fortunate for Delaney. We did have an incident up on the top of the screen. That's one of the red cars can't quite, I believe that's Giglio. So, man, oh man, LMM teammates over at 100% Cup Series not having a good night. We'll take a look at the replay here, coming into the hairpin. Just a little bit too, just too much beans, as Carlos says it. Might have been too much throttle input, just got him a little bit squirrely. Could have also been, not just too much throttle, but also that big wing on the back, somebody coming across it. Kevin Steele seemingly also had a bit of an issue. Let's see what's going on with him. He was 3 wide going into the corner, and I don't blame him for that. That is 3 wide into a very tight corner. It's lap 3 of the race. You've got time to maybe reel these guys back in, but if you wreck the car, that's the end of your night. So, sometimes you make those moves and sometimes you just fold, and that's probably a smart time to fold.
Absolutely, Andre. And something else that comes into play right there. Last year, as you may remember, Bryson was Kevin Steele's boss in 100%. Well, Ace Moneymaker shutting down for the 2023 season. And now Kevin is Bryson's boss. So a little role reversal there, as it looked like Kevin was on the outside of Bryson at the time. As you can see here, the battle for the lead is still very close, Andre, with RJ Root battling Jonathan Delaney again for the lead.
Yeah, Root is not letting him get very far away. Bottom of your screen, that's the battle for the lead. Top of your screen, that's a 3-car kind of tandem we've had going on for a while. We're starting to see some drafting form up with that number 3 machine. Not really having any draft partners. He's all on his own in that gold car, just trying to either catch up with the cars ahead or let these cars behind him get there and start pushing him, because, man, oh man, anytime you gain or lose in the infield, could just be null and void by the time you get to the oval. I mean, look at how much that oval really separated everybody once they started drafting, but look at what a good entry that he got into the corner. That was, I mean, he closed probably 7 car lengths right there on these cars ahead of him. That was really impressive. These guys still trying to work their way through the hairpin here. Bottom of your screen, that's our 3-wide TV multicam on board currently with Alex Van de Sant. He's up 7 positions from where he started. Well, now 6. Nope, now 7 again, as he's just going back and forth here with that driver to his inside. Looks like he may be able to get him clear as they get down to the oval. Can he? No, he's going to go really wide. He's actually going to concede that position, drop back down into the draft. That's a lot of positions made up, Cody, because when this race started, he was all the way back in 13th.
Yeah, I like how you passed that off on the number 13 there, Andre. But yes, no, Alex Van de Sant is probably one of the most impressive guys I've seen on the service. Just with how he's able to make moves cleanly. He can pass on the inside, outside. And as you can see here, though, right now, he's back in a battle for 4th with, as I believe that is Timothy Latham. For 5th, as they're still side-by-side going into the corner. But as you can see down below on the 3-wide TV multicam, RJ looks like he is still closing in on Jonathan Delaney. And it looks like he's about ready to make a move. But now, of course, something else to consider here, Andre, is the fact RJ was really improved this past year in 100% as well, winning 2 races. So he is no slouch when it comes to racing these top talents.
No, he's absolutely not a slouch, and the fact that he is keeping right on Delaney's heels is pretty much a testament to that. A lot of times when Delaney gets the lead, that's it. He's gone, and he's going to pull away with that. But RJ, he's been right there following along. I think he might actually be a little bit quicker through the center section of the infield. But you can see right there, getting back onto the oval, John was able to get on the power just a little bit quicker. Whereas RJ, you saw he had to put a little bit of counter steer into it, got a little bit squirrely getting onto the oval section. And that cost him a little bit of time. Now, that's time he's making up through the draft. You can see him closing in this entire time. But the problem is, if he could start that entire oval section as close as he is right now and not have to make that time up with the draft, he could use that draft not to catch up, but to slingshot around him, try to take that lead back for himself. So he's got to work a little bit on the exit of the road course. Everywhere else, he's really good. I mean, look at this hairpin entry coming up right here. A little bit of a long straightaway into the braking zone. Look how he closes in ever so slightly on John. A little bit tighter on the curbs. He's not afraid of those curbs, and that lets him just rotate so much quicker. And as they come down the next straightaway, it's going to be a little bit of a right-hander into a left-hander. And again, just a bit of a tighter line, 4 route that allows him to be right on the bumper. But it was here last lap that John just was able to get to the power and pull away. And this lap, it's not going to be that way. Look at this. John Delaney unable to get that advantage onto the oval. Now the draft is on RJ's side. Is he going to try to give him a shove? What is he going to do? And while they're battling, look at this. They got another player to worry about. Cameron Stone has been reeling these guys in the entire time they've been squabbling. He's only 0.6 seconds back, and he's up quite a few positions from where he started. So that normally silver bullet, which is now blue, is homing in on these guys. And if they get side by side, if they really start battling, that's just going to be music to his ears. Back into the road course section again. Saw John just outbroke him a little bit, and that's going to happen. You know, when you enter the corner right behind the guy in front of you, you tend to be a little bit conservative on the brakes, because if you drive it in too deep and they brake before you, well, then you've got a car on your hood and you're both wrecking. So just something that RJ kind of had to concede there was, okay, I got to be a little bit careful into the corner. But man, oh man, they do this much longer. They're going to have Cam Stone to worry about.
Yeah, and I know he definitely wants to kind of prove some people wrong after last week running 6th at Indianapolis. As you can see, RJ takes that a little wider there and loses time to Cameron Stone, as Cam's going on the inside of him here right now. And we'll see what Cam does when he clears RJ, if he decides to tuck in behind Jonathan, or if he decides to try to make a pass. But as you can see, it looks like he's going to stay right behind him. But going back to his car color, Andre, know that was a hot topic in the garage here when the colors were released, and that was Natty Light Blue. I don't think Cam was too much of a fan of that.
Probably not. No, you know, he's a Coors man, not really much of a Natty Light guy, but you know, Kevin names all these paints, and well, he likes to have fun with it, as you can see clearly. I believe one of those was Taylor Swift Red, so. We've got quite a few interesting names there, but the top 3 is starting to really bunch up. Cameron Stone securely into 2nd. Question is, can he use the oval portion to try to get the draft? Maybe RJ Root will lend him a hand. Now, RJ and Cam did have team ties in 100% Cup Series last year. Not so much anymore. With Silver Bullet pretty much dissipating as a team, I do not believe that they will be working together in really any capacity. So I don't think RJ is going to feel any obligation to help Cam get up there. And even if he was still affiliated with him, I mean, this is for the lead. You're not really going to help anybody, no matter who they are, boss man or not. Going on board with Cam, you're going to see just how powerful that slipstream is. You think powerful slipstream is something in a stock car, well, then you take these cars with big wings on them. Man, that slipstream is absurd how strong it can be. Looks like Cam's going to look to the outside. Bit of a bold move, but sometimes you got to think outside the box, because if you just follow and follow and follow, he dives it in deep into the corner. Man, oh man, I didn't think he was going to be able to do that. I don't know if Delaney gave that to him, or if Cam just straight up outbroke him. What a move that was. I didn't even get to finish what I was saying. I was going to say, if you follow him for too long, you're going to find that there's really not that many opportunities to make the pass, and you got to kind of reposition yourself outside of the preferred lane, and it's exactly what Cam did.
Absolutely, Andre, and something else we have to consider here. We've gone about 9 laps here now of green flag racing. Their tires, I know how Kansas's oval is, it grades your tires really quick. I wonder if that's what's happening here now, where it's just starting to destroy the tires, or if they're seeing a window where they may be able to make it on fuel. So it kind of looked like Jonathan did give him that spot just so that way he can kind of ride behind, save a little fuel, and not be the lead car here this early on in the race.
It definitely could be. I don't exactly know the fuel mileage for these guys. I'm a little bit behind on the notes, I should say, for this race, so I don't really know what they're looking at in terms of tire wear, in terms of fuel usage, really even in terms of handling. I'd say from a handling perspective, outside of the braking, these cars look like they're handling pretty dang well. I'm not seeing a lot of slipping and sliding. We've seen a few drivers get on the throttle too quick and spin themselves out, but you know, you're going to have that in a sports car with this much horsepower. But I don't know, for the most part, it looks like it enters the corner real smooth, kind of gets out of the corner pretty smooth. Just got to be careful in that throttle input, careful on the wheel, and otherwise this car is looking pretty hooked up. So if fuel mileage is the big concern, then that does make sense. Delaney's dropped all the way back to 4th. He's now letting Van de Sant by as well as Root. Look at this. Looks like Root is actually going to try to get back around Cameron Stone on the bottom for the lead. Man, oh man, look at that. Van de Sant trying to run down Cameron Stone. A little bit of help from the draft. But RJ, I think, is going to get it here because he's going to have the preferred lane into the trial. It's going to be the shorter way around the track. Is there some near contact? No, there is contact there. I'm not sure what that was all about. I feel like, I don't know.
Yeah, and RJ better be careful about what he does, too, with Cameron Stone in tow. Because now that should... Oh!
Whoa.
And there's contact going through that turn with Alex running into the back of Cameron Stone. I wonder how much damage he has. But that just looked like Cam drove it in deep. Andre was trying to get back to RJ, and he had to check up a little, as we'll get a replay right here of what happened there. As you can see, Cam enters the turn, drives it in deep, and exits wide, hits the cone, comes back out onto the track, and drifts up into Alex, and causes Alex to go off track with some damage there. Let's hope that's not a terminal damage there.
I'm sure the car will be fine for the most part, but that is a lot of time lost. You see, just really no time to react. He did what he could, but just that little split second is going to cost him upwards of 5 positions that he worked so hard to regain. He really cut his way up through the field so quickly. Now with 21 to go, he finds himself all the way back in 7th. So there's Cameron Stone trying to hold off Josh Chin. But he's going to maybe look to the bottom now and see what he can do, as all of this scuffling has allowed RJ Root to pull out to a 1.8 second lead. Can Cam try to do something on the outside? Not quite. Whoa!
RJ locked it
The
up.
leader is off the track. RJ is going to wind up losing some positions, handing the lead over to Joshua Chin. Cameron Stone in tow. Man, oh man, I got to wonder what fuel mileage is with these guys, because it seems like some of these guys are slowing down and some of these guys are just driving like crazy.
Yeah, absolutely, Andre. As you can see here on the replay, it looks like he got into the corner a little hot there, just like Cam did the last time, and just locked up the rear tires and got sideways and let 3, 4, 5 cars by.
You know, I'm not even sure he locked up the tires. I think he just got on the brakes a little bit too hard, a little bit too quickly, and that shifted the weight of the car to the front, which then got the rear end a little bit. Yeah, you can see it right there. That weight shift just got that rear end a little bit tail happy, and he tried to correct it, but once that happens, there's just not a whole lot you can do to bring it back. So, unfortunate to see there.
Yeah, absolutely, Andre. And and now Kevin's around. What is going on here, Andre?
Well, you know, we're halfway through the race, and I think maybe the attrition's starting to get some of these guys. Bryson Alexander said Cam used Intimidate on RJ. Yeah, I think that may be the case. That could definitely be it.
Yeah, and as we just discovered, that these drivers do only have one set of tires and no traction control. So not having any traction control, Andre, that doesn't normally lead for a good time. I mean, I know these guys are really, really good, and this is coming from somebody, well, let's be honest, isn't as good, and I know how important traction control is. So for them not to have that, it's certainly difficult out there.
Well, and you know, it definitely lends itself more towards, I would say, some of these drivers who have come from the stock car side of things. Because, of course, stock cars don't have traction control, they don't have ABS, they don't have any of this stuff. So those drivers have kind of had to train themselves to kind of have an eggshell under the pedal, so to speak, and just be very, very careful rolling in and out of the gas. Be very careful with their shifts and how that affects the weight of the car. Whereas a lot of these guys coming from road, if they're coming from Indy, if they're coming from sports cars, they've had a lot of things that they're luxury, like ABS and TCS, which are perfectly valid. I mean, they're built into the car by the manufacturer. But they are a certain driving style, right? You have to learn how to drive with those things, just like you have to learn to drive without them. And when you go to drive without them and you're used to having them, it is tough. So big props to some of these guys, such as Josh Chin, who's coming from an open wheel, high speed series to a very, I would say, lower speed and a lot more handling oriented series here. And he's just far and away right now one of the best. He won the first race of the year currently in the lead ahead of Cameron Stone. Just doing a phenomenal job all around.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else to consider here, Andre, was the fact he started dead last because of being the winner the past week. And we see it normally with road courses. There isn't a whole lot of passing. And he's making it look easy. I mean, there's some guys that have dropped out or have had trouble, but he's in the lead of the race, and he's opened up about a 1.25 second lead here on the rest of the field.
Yeah, it is quite a substantial lead, which is surprising to me. I kind of thought that the draft would keep these guys relatively close together and that nobody would really be able to pull too far away. But on his own, he's just out to a fairly big lead, and he's got all these cars behind him that can draft when they get to that part of the track, but it's just not quite enough. So Cameron Stone, I think he's probably been babying his car for the last few laps, getting sideways those few times that he did, as well as the aerodynamic damage he probably has from that contact with RJ. Whoa, we got a spin behind our leaders.
RJ again.
Coming out of the hairpin, RJ again. And I was just going to say, that was the reason Cam was probably babying his car, because once you spin once, your tires are going to be screaming at you. They're going to be hot. The car is not going to have any grip, and it's going to be that way for a few laps until you get them cooled down. There goes RJ out of the corner. Very similar to what we saw Giglio do earlier. Just a little bit too much throttle, and yeah, those tires take a while to cool down.
Yeah, absolutely, Andre. And as I mentioned, with the wear on tires in the sim anymore, it's important. And it looks like we have the first car in the pits, and Kevin Steele, who has decided to come down probably. Oh, he towed to the pits. So this may be the end of the road here for Kevin Steele. But as I was talking about with the tires just starting to wear and only having one set, all these drivers have to be smart with about how they use them.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to burn them up too quickly. You don't want to use them too quickly. I'm not entirely. Oh man, that is Van de Sande, I believe, doing the same thing RJ did. Is that Van de Sande, or is that? Okay, yeah, that is Van de Sande. I was going to say it might be Dixon Boz. He's also in a purple car, but we'll take a look at the replay and see how Van de Sande found himself going the wrong way. And yeah, just too much throttle again. That's the trouble spot of this track for sure.
Yeah, too many beans, as you see Kevin Malone doing the good old dropping the chili. And of course, as you can see, the lead has even extended farther over Matt Taylor in second to almost 3 seconds here as we go into turn 1, as Cameron Stone is on his back bumper hoping to get by and maybe hopefully give chase to Joshua Chip.
Whoa, a little bit of lockup from Stone. That's going to send these guys behind him into a bit of an accordion effect. They're going to have to gather it up, and they do single file. Meanwhile, Chin just out to a 2.5 second lead. It is incredible how far out he has managed to get here, as it looks like maybe the old car is going to try to make a move on the bottom, and he is. It's going to be a successful overtake. What a move there. Definitely. And I'm starting to think that that's a risky place to pass with how unsettled the car seems to be there. So to make a pass and to kind of keep the car underneath you, that is no small order. Jonathan Delaney worked his way back up to 30. He dropped, I think, as far back as 5th. Now he is trying to run down Taylor in the number 9 to see if he can maybe get up to P2 and then from there set his sights on Chin. But he's got to do it soon because we're only 15 to go. And with the size of the lead that Chin has, you're going to want to start chiseling away at that right now if you can. You don't want to save that for later. But looks like Cameron Stone right on the bumper of Shepard in that gold number 3. He's not going to try to make the overtake here. Just going to give him a shot into the corner. And I think that's going to be kind of important for a lot of this race is just, working together, trying to draft as much as you can. Maybe not getting too aggressive. We've seen over-aggression bite a few drivers so far tonight.
Absolutely, Andre. And you got to keep all 4 tires on the road. Obviously, that's the point of racing. You don't want to go into the grass ever. But to keep all 4 tires on the road, and we've seen it with the top 2 guys. They've had no incident tonight, and they're 1-2 right now. And of course, with how the field is now spread out, it's going to be tougher and tougher to make these passes. And you're going to have to find opportunities. As you can see, it looks like Jonathan Delaney is now battling Matt Taylor for the lead. Or second, sorry.
And as the 100% Cup Series is reminding us in the chat, Chin is looking to get the bonus points for most laps led. It is going to be 5 bonus points if he's able to lock that in, which I think give him a few more laps and he should be close to locking that in at least. So with a 3.8 second lead, I think right now all he's got to do is try to make some laps, try to play it cool, calm, and collected. And he should get himself some bonus points, which is a pretty phenomenal start to the year. 4 races in a season. He wins the first race, currently leading the second one, looks to be a hopeful to win it now. Man, oh man, he could just about have this thing locked in by the time he rolls into the third race. That is quite impressive.
Absolutely, and having a championship early, we really don't get to see that anymore on the Cup side of things with a one-race showdown. But having a driver that has just come out, dominated the first 2 weeks, and is looking to keep it going here as Jonathan Delaney goes wide on that corner and lets it looks like J.R. Shepard by. But having 2 great weeks really sets you up for success down the road with the final 2 weeks, especially on the ovals. Knocking out the road course this week with a win would be huge.
Of course, we don't want to speak too soon. We'll knock on wood. It is 13 to go, and we've seen misfortune strike the leader a couple times tonight. So, it's not over till it's over, but Chin definitely showing a lot of strength here and a lot of potential as he's now up to a 4-second lead. Taylor in second, Shepard in third, with Jonathan Delaney, Cameron Stone, Bryce Nixon bought in tow. Van de Sant not ever able to recover from that little bit of a bobble he had with Cameron Stone that put him back down to 7th, and that is where he remains. Rasimus is going to be P8 currently, right ahead of short track Joe Stafford. RJ, after his myriad of issues that he had, is all the way back in 10th, which is just a shame given that he was leading this race not too long ago. And Timothy Latham in the number 12 is the last car on track currently that's running. And then behind him, you got the graveyard, the cars that were not able to make it this far in the race. Kevin Steele, Blake Giglio, Lucas Hoytsma, and, Race Control. He never started the race, but shout out to Race Control.
I mean, hey, Andre, that's a top 15 finish for them. That's impressive with this talent. But, of course, like you mentioned, the field now spread out, and we don't want to speak too soon. I just kind of felt like it was my turn to be an announcer's curse. I think that's fair, Andre, don't you? I think I've been on the receiving end of that plenty of times.
Yeah, I would say Damaris got the announcer's curse more than you.
That's fair. That's very fair as well.
I mean, for a while we couldn't even point the camera at him. He was like a camera shy little girl. Anytime you put the camera on him, it was just gone.
Yeah, and as somebody brought out, the top 2 in the series is that they are the Lionheart Racing League, which is an IndyCar league. So as you can see, the cream rises to the top when it comes to road here, Andre.
Absolutely, they are showing their expertise, and I don't think that's much of a surprise to anybody. Road racing is a very specific discipline, and there's just certain things that you learn over time, and you kind of burn into your muscle memory, and these guys are just doing a phenomenal job of it out here.
Yeah, absolutely, Andre. And as you can see currently on screen, you can see Pete or J.R. Shepard and Jonathan Delaney battling for 3rd place here. And the running joke is Jonathan Delaney finishes 3rd a lot. And of course, he won the championship this past year in 100% Cup Series. And something else interesting about J.R. Shepard, he is a late model specialist and dirt tracker shining in cars hard to drive. So this series is boding well to his talents, with especially dirt racing being as tough as it is to get used to on the surface, with the dirt not always cooperating, normally being a really slick track. So this is probably where he's showing that the car's starting to go away from him, and the tires aren't going to matter to him, as RJ Root is in the pits.
Yeah, I think it's getting time where these guys are probably going to have to stop for fuel. Again, I'm not 100% sure what their mileage is Also, I don't want to put any pressure on the drivers here, but I do want to point out that Lionheart Racing Series is in chat watching their drivers try to go out here and win this race. So it's got to add a little bit to the nerves when the home team sitting on the sidelines rooting for you and hoping for you to pull it off. But they got a good result last week, and I think they're in for another one this week as long as nothing crazy happens. But we'll wait and see. And I also want to see if anybody else comes down pit road. I don't know if RJ is going to be kicking off a pit sequence where a lot of drivers are going to come down, or if he's just throwing a Hail Mary at it here, trying to see what he can do. Because again, I don't know what they can do in terms of fuel.
It actually looks like RJ brought his car to the garage. So it looks like his day is over here. As you can see, now we have a battle for second place that is 3 cars deep with J.R. Shepard, Jonathan Delaney, and Matt Taylor all battling for that position. And they're side by side going through the kink, which we've seen bite people a lot here today.
Yeah, definitely not an easy part of the track to navigate. Shepard able to make these overtakes pretty flawlessly as they're going to go single file again, back out onto the oval portion of the track. Got a slipstream inbound right here. Hixenbaugh is going to be the tail end of this line, and it is going to be Shepard at the front. So we'll see if these guys can kind of coordinate a little bit, maybe get in each other's slipstream. I think if anybody is going to run down Chin, which is starting to look less and less likely with nearly a 6-second lead, they're going to have to work together. They have zero time to really worry about battling and racing with one another. They're just going to have to get at it and see what they can do to maybe slipstream with one another. And even then, it may be a futile effort because look at that lead. Chin is just on another level right now.
Yeah, and it looks like second place is not slowing down with this battle. As you can see, Matt Taylor going to the inside of J.R. Shepard there, with Jonathan Delaney being the benefactory there of getting second place. And now we'll see if he has anything, but without a caution here, Andre, it's starting to look less and less likely with the lead almost out to 6 seconds.
Whoa! A spin from second place. That's Delaney.
And there's the announcer's curse. And it looks like Jonathan Delaney's going to refire it there and fall back to 9th place. And we'll get a replay here. And it looks like it's just another one of those situations where he gets into the corner, gets in there a little hot, and comes out of the corner, accelerates a little too early, and spins it out.
Well, and his exit was also a little bit higher than you normally want to take in that corner. So I got to think maybe having those rear tires out of that groove where the rubber's laid down also got him a little bit sideways. But I'm hearing that John has wrecked again after his first issue. We'll see if we can dial up a replay on that. It looks like maybe getting back out onto the oval. Just snapped around on him. Definitely got a little bit of damage from the banking, as our producer pointed out. That was quite an abrupt hit there. We'll go on board again for another look at this from a slightly different angle. So there was some lockup in front of him. I think he was just trying to avoid that. It caught him off guard, and unfortunately just drove straight up onto that banking, which, let me tell you, the suspension of these cars is not built for that in the slightest.
Absolutely not, Andre. And as you could just see, our lovely producer Carlos just circled on the screen. Oh, and looks like he's still sideways. It may be time for some new tires for John Delaney here, to hopefully get his car back on track and hopefully recuperate some of the stuff, or some of the positions that he lost.
Yeah, thing is, it's a little late in the race to really recuperate much of anything, unless your competition also faces some misfortune, so we'll have to wait and see. But not the time in the race to be making mistakes for John. And as Slimy Drip 90 says, Ace Moneymaker ain't going to be calling with moves like that. And, well, John, he's a curious case. One of the fastest drivers I've ever seen on the service, but just makes some of the weirdest mistakes, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we go back here, we have another battle for second place. And this is the hottest battle on the track, with 4 guys battling for second place. And all of them wanting that spot, wanting to be this guy finishing second, because the gap has now gone out to 10 seconds. But if we look at Bryson Hixenbaugh here, he's had a very quiet day, starting towards the back of the field, and he's just been solid, working his way up through the field into a top 5. And looking to hopefully get up to that second position. But we do know Bryson's record on road courses coming down to the end, and they don't always end too well.
No, Bryson is, again, another curious case when it comes to road courses. He's not bad at them by any means. It's not that he's slow. He is very competent at road courses. He can turn lap times that are competitive, but it just seems like he's very accident prone, or sometimes even just misfortune prone. Sometimes things happen that aren't even in his control, but either way you look at it, no matter how you slice it, it seems like bad things happen to Bryson on road courses. So heading into this corner, as you're right on board, he's got a bee's nest of cars in front of him. It's probably a bit of a scary sight when you know you've got the, not the reputation, but the luck that you tend to have at these courses. He's going to want to take it easy here, probably, at least momentarily, and see what he can do. But at the same time, you want to try and stack up some points here if you're going to have any hope of trying to make a run at Chin for the championship.
Absolutely, Andre. And the battle for second, as you can see, it looks like J.R. Shepard is back into second place here with Cam right on his back bumper. Cam wants that second place spot. And wheeling that car, grip absolutely going away, as you can see right there. Bryson just snapped a little there. And going down the backstretch, just trying to stay in the draft gear and see what he can get. Another guy who's been really quiet here today is Joe Stafford, who's currently in 7th position. Not really doing too much. Looks like he fell back a little here early on and just hasn't been able to regain.
Yeah, it could just be that this car and this track aren't really clicking with him. Again, it's a very strange combo for sure. Not something that very many of these guys are used to. And just like some of these guys might figure it out pretty quick, just like Chin and Shepard, some of these guys might just be a little bit more behind on the handling and trying to figure it out because it is so unusual and such an unorthodox pairing here. Not really something you do too often. So he's, not having a terrible night. He is ahead of Rasmus, Latham, and Jonathan Delaney. But I don't know. Joe's one heck of a driver, and I am a little bit surprised to see how kind of out-to-lunch that car looks tonight.
Yeah, absolutely, Andre. And they call him Short Track Joe Stafford for a reason. Coming into 100% last year, first race at the LA Coliseum, which, again, looking forward to that again. But he came out, won that race in spectacular fashion, dominating that day. So maybe we need to see him at some short tracks here, Andre, to really get a feel for how it is.
Yeah, that definitely could be the case as we follow back along with the battle for second, which isn't really much of a battle anymore. Looks like Shepard has given himself some breathing room ahead of Stone, and Hixenbaugh a little bit further back isn't really challenging them either. Meanwhile, Chin is still out to an 8-second lead, so nothing to worry about there with only 3 laps to go. Field's getting a little bit spread out here, which, you go back to last season, our road course race at Lime Rock. That race was really close the entire way through. Very interesting race, I would have to say. It sticks out of my mind even now. Very different experience here with this road course. We're getting some separation. It's been fairly clean with the exception of a few single car incidents. Gotta wonder if maybe this road course layout is so I don't want to say simple, but if it's so straightforward that it's allowing these guys to kind of get away from one another, whereas a track like Lime Rock being a little bit more complex, it was just sort of naturally keeping them under a blanket.
Absolutely, Andre. And the big thing with Lime Rock is the close quarters of the track. Like, as you can see here, the corners are wide. They have a ton of room to move around. And it kind of gives guys the opportunity to choose different lines and sees what fits their style the best. And as we keep going on track and seeing it, that the last couple laps, the gaps between the cars has really started to spread out.
Yeah, you going to kind of fall away from each other, and Van de Sant in 6th place did gain a position somewhere down the line, not as many positions as he was hoping, but potentially a few more if he's able to close that gap to Taylor at all. But yeah, just a little bit of separation here as Chin is getting out onto the oval section and everybody else still on the infield. A bit of tire lock up there. Can't tell if that was Cameron Stone or if that was Taylor. I think it may have been Taylor.
Yeah, it looked like Matt Taylor was the one who locked up there, just trying to get a little too much out of his car. And as we come out of Oval 3 and 4, Joshua Tim will take the one to go white flag. Don't know what those words were there, but he takes the white flag, and we're on the final lap of this race, Andre.
It is going to be just one more time around for these guys, and the race is official. If we get a caution flag or anything of the sort, the race will still be considered official. So I think right now, Joshua Chin's got this in the bag. He's just got to bring it around home. And honestly, he's got such a big lead. He could make that mistake everybody else has made, get loose coming out of this corner, spin around, and probably still win the race. So nothing to worry about. He can take it really easy, and I think he is. He did lose a couple tenths to the cars behind, which shows it's probably just relaxing at the moment. 100% Cup Series says, getting reports of rain in turn 1. That would be dramatic. Unfortunately, iRacing has not quite implemented that. As top of your 3-wide TV multicam, that is a battle for position there between Taylor and Hicksonbaugh, I believe.
It looks like Hicksonbaugh's up the road a little, battling with Cameron Stone for a top 3 position. But again, we come out of turns 3 and 4 here, Andre, and Joshua Chin is going to go back-to-back in the IROC 100% series.
And he is going to take his second win in a row in dominating fashion. I don't think you could say anybody had anything for him. The best car and the best driver definitely won that race because he didn't start out front. He had to start in the very tail end of the field. He passed every single car in his windshield, and he never looked back. What an impressive run for Joshua Chin. And I'm sure right now his league is pretty proud of him. Man, oh man, what a run that was. We still have a few drivers coming to the checkered flag. Looks like Shepard locked it in second, Cameron Stone third. Bryson Hicksonbaugh is going to wind up P4. Taylor going to be fifth. Van de Sant is going to come across the line in sixth. And we're just waiting on Stafford. Chin's going to bring it down to the ground right there on the exit of the infield. Doing some donuts. Definitely well earned.
Absolutely, Andre. I mean, when you win a road course by 10 seconds, it isn't based off of luck or anything of that nature. You need to really dominate the race, and then, and he's going to do a Polish, can you call this a Polish victory lap, Andre?
The Polish victory lap.
I like the sound of that, doing a Polish victory lap. But dominating by... yeah, I think so. So, either way, that takes talent to even drive in reverse like that. So, congrats to Joshua Chin, and hopefully we can get him up into the broadcast here shortly for an interview.
Yeah, we'll try to have a word with all of our top 3 here. Looks like Chin is going to give Stone a push. And then he's going to go back to doing some donuts.
Just telling Cam to get out of the way there.
Yeah. Like, get out of the shot. This is my shot.
So, it looks like we have Cam Stone in the waiting room. You want to bring him up, Andre?
Let's see. Well, first of all, do we have our total finishing order we can pull up?
Sorry, Andre.
All right, so our final results for the night is going to be Josh Chin with the win, 2 in a row. JT Shepard is going to be P2. Cameron Stone on the podium in third. Bryson Hicksonbaugh, P4. Matt Taylor is going to be P5. Alex Van de Sant, P6. Joe Stafford, 7th. Mike Rasmus is going to be 8th. Timothy Latham, 9th. Jonathan Delaney, 10th. Raymond Root goes from the lead to an unfortunate 11th place finish. And then you have the rest of the cars that didn't quite make it to that checkered flag. Kevin Steele, Blake Giglio, and Lucas Whiteman.
Can't forget race control either, Andre.
And, of course, race control. We're going to go ahead and bring in Cameron Stone, 3rd place finisher, see what he has to say. Cameron Stone, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Cam, kind of an up-and-down night. You led the race for a brief period, and then a little bit of a run-in with RJ. I want to ask you about that first. When you guys were on the oval section, it seemed like you guys were both really running each other hard, not really leaving any room. What was your perspective on that?
When we made contact over there, that was just a case of me not really understanding where the parameters of the car are. I used to side drafting people in the cup car, and that's what I was trying to do. He had me kind of pinned on the outside coming off of oval 4, and I just wanted to try to stay alongside him until we got to the braking zone into 1, and got a little bit too close. And luckily, we didn't make significant enough contact to hook him into the wall, and I was able to gather it up too. Then I go down into turn 1, and I guess iRacing assumes that the left front just gained 1,000 degrees because I touched somebody and locked it up, got down there, hit the grass, and then came back across the track and hit Van Desant. So that's 2 of my guys that were on my cup team last year that I pissed off in about a quarter mile. So that was an eventful lap for sure. Glad we led one before that. I don't think it's going to account for the bonus points, but it was a wild race for sure.
Now, it sounded to me like when you were practicing before the race, those were your very first practice laps. Were you very prepared going into this?
I'm going to be honest with you. Before the schedule was announced for IROC, I didn't know that there even was a road course at Kansas. So yeah, about 20 minutes before the real session opened, I loaded into it just to see what the track was shaped like, and where the braking zones and stuff like that were. And it's kind of a funky track with a lot of elevation changes coming off of the high banks on the oval, and getting down into the infield section. You want to treat it like the Charlotte Roval, but it's nothing like that with the way you enter and exit. Because at the Charlotte Roval, you basically do all your entering and exiting on the front stretch before you really get to the banking. And here it's on both ends. It's high banks as soon as you get out there. So, it's definitely a big learning curve getting out here, but looks like, several of us took to it pretty quick there.
Absolutely. Seemed like a few of you guys were just kind of vibing with the track. It clicked with you right away, and it definitely showed. Well, Cam, thank you for your time. Congratulations on your podium finish. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out or thank?
I don't know if Mom and Pop tuned in to check this one out. It was kind of last minute, but if you're watching, appreciate y'all. Thanks to all my competitors. Thanks to Alex for not being too pissed off at me. I think he might have been the fastest guy out there. He had to wreck twice and come back, I think, to finish 5th. So hope he's not too upset with me after I basically ruined the race for him on lap 12. But appreciate all these guys coming out here racing hard. It's clean for the most part, and it's a pretty good time, especially when really nobody gets a lot of practice. So other than Joshua Chin, everybody looks pretty fairly matched out here.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time, Cam. Congratulations, and talk to you next week.
Appreciate you.
All right, Cody, I'm going to hand J.R. Shepard over to you. This is our second place finisher.
Sounds good. JR, this is Cody up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you.
So, first off, congrats on second place, and coming from a little of a different background than the rest of these guys. It looked like the cars were hard to grip out there. Would you say that having that dirt experience kind of helped you through some of the corners?
Yeah, definitely. Some of the dirt experience and a lot of the short track racing experience on the asphalt side for sure. Being able to run long races and try to save your tires definitely was a benefit in this race, because it was really, really hard trying to get the grip down up off of some of the slower corners especially, and very easy to kind of lose it going into the corner. The car was a little bit unpredictable at times, especially as you start to burn off some of the fuel, but definitely a fun race, fun to be a part of this.
Absolutely, and as we saw, there was a battle there about with 5-6 to go. That was about 4 of you guys battling for second. Walk us through what was going through your mind in that battle.
I was wanting to get away from them so bad. Yeah, everybody was so tight on lap times, and if you're, within a half a second of somebody coming on the turn 2 on the oval portion, you could get a big draft and pass them going into turn 1. So, yeah, it was really hard to try to get away from them, and thankfully some of them kind of made a little bit of a mistake, and I was able to get away, but very easily could have went from second there all the way back to 5th. It was extremely tight there in the closing laps.
Yeah, you definitely gave the audience out there watching the show. Now, is there anybody you would like to thank today for while you have a chance to be interviewed?
Yeah, just thanks to the 100% series for putting on this IROC deal. It's really cool. Very honored to be a part of it. There's some extremely fast and great drivers that are in this league. So to be able to get a podium is really cool. And thank you to everything that you guys are doing up in the booth for us, and to my team back on the asphalt side, Different Path Motorsports. Thanks to what they do, it really helped me out this week.
Absolutely, and hopefully we'll be speaking with you next week, JR. So have a good night, and hopefully talk to you next week.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you, guys.
Second place finisher out of the booth. And if you give me 1 second, I'm going to try to pull up our winner. Joshua Chin, you got a copy?
Yep.
Well, Josh, you won last week. Then you come here and you dominate this race too. Things are looking pretty good for you here in IROC. And I feel like with how dominating of a performance you put on tonight, any question I ask would be kind of null and void, because it seems like you know more than I do about this place. So I'll just ask, what was the secret to the speed here? I mean, how were you finding that much time above all your competitors?
Really, after I got to the lead, it was just kind of hold on the tires. I didn't really push it for the first probably 8-9 laps, just working through traffic. Never really got a chance to push. So the tires were nice and fresh, and then everyone kind of wanted the pinball around for second. No one really wanted to get there and try and run down, so it worked out great in my advantage. No one really mounted a charge together. A few guys were fast, but everyone kind of had their issues when they got the second, so they'd knock back and lose a second. And it kept happening over and over again, so by the time we got to lap 32, I was just kind of sitting there. I'd been running my pace about a 13.7 the whole time, and there I was, 8-9 seconds up on everyone else.
Yeah, it was incredible to watch. I mean, especially at a track with this much slipstream. I don't think any of us expected anybody to get out there with such a big lead, but you managed to do it. Now, you mentioned a little bit about saving tires. Was the tire wear particularly abrasive here at this track, or how did it feel to you?
It felt like once you got through about the first half of the run, the tires kind of slicked up a little bit. I don't know if the track temp was going up or if it's just the tires wearing off and heating up, but it seemed like a lot of guys were starting to struggle with it even about 10 laps in. So about that time, it really started working out in my favor. Once I was up in about 6th, 7th place, guys were really struggling with tires, and draft helped a lot with that too. So yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be that tire intensive, especially only a 32 lap race here. It's, a little over 30 minutes, so it was surprising.
Now, the two trouble spots of this track seem to be, for a lot of people, getting into the infield section. A lot of heavy braking. You're kind of shifting the weight of the car to the front and getting that rear end really loose. And then the hairpin in the middle of the infield section. A lot of drivers were getting on the throttle just a little bit too hard and kind of getting loose there. What was your strategy to just kind of click off clean laps and avoid mistakes, especially in the trouble spots?
Well, turn one, I don't know where everyone kind of started doing it, but they'd run up a really high arc and then try and cut it back down across the banking. And then I noticed if I would come across it maybe 200, 300 feet earlier, I could kind of settle the car out, aim for the apex, and just make it an easy run through there. And then the infield hairpin, honestly, was probably the easiest corner of the day for me. It was just kind of pointing at the apex and getting it rotated through and out and not hitting the gas too hard. I think a lot of guys were kind of struggling with this car not having traction control on and just kind of slamming it into the throttle and not easing back into it. So I think that was another thing that probably led to some people having some tire issues, is buzzing it in that corner and then getting back onto the oval after that.
I like that answer about getting onto the infield and not cutting across the banking really hard, because that is something that some drivers from the road side of things might think is just common sense. Yeah, of course, you don't want to be clipping across that banking right as you're making a sharp turn. That's going to unsettle the car, but it seems like some of those guys were still trying to do that later in the race, and you had it figured out early. So just impressive all around. Josh, again, congratulations on the win. While we got you, is there anybody that you'd like to shout out or thank?
I got to give a shout out to Jason Brophy, who's kind of giving me appraised of everything going on during the race. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting, and thanks to 100% Cup Series for inviting me to run this. It's been a blast so far. I'm not just saying that because I won the first 2 races. It's legitimately been fun. I showed up with only half an hour practice coming in late, so to be able to have fun in a series like this and not have to run a ton of laps to get prepared is a really nice change.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time. Congratulations on the win, and hopefully we're talking to you again next week, Josh.
Yep, thank you, guys.
And that is going to do it for our race winner, and that is just about going to do it for us here at 3 Wide TV. Cody, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, hopefully we just keep getting good racing here this whole season, and it translates into the 2023 100% Cup Series. But they're showing why they're the best on the service, and they're going to keep doing it, hopefully.
Absolutely. Well, from 3 Wide TV, we want to thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you had as much fun as we did. I've been Hunter Grambush, joined alongside Cody Bird, and of course Carlos Costa, pushing the buttons, bringing the memes, the actions, and everything else to your screens. He's got a new repertoire of memes this year. I've never seen the Jurassic Park tire meme before today. So I think 2023, that might be the year of the meme for Carlos. We'll have to wait and see, and you'll have to tune in and find out. Thanks for watching. We will catch you next week.